Is 2023 the year to buy your dream home? My name's Tristan Larkin and I'm here with James Rankin and you are listening to Buy a Property Now. Around Christmas and New Year's, it's very common for people to start planning their New Year's resolutions, and property or buying a property is a very common aspiration that people want to achieve. So if you're like one of the many and you're planning to buy a property next year, you may be wondering, where do I start and is it even a good time in 2023? So James, what do you suggest is the first thing that someone should do if they're planning to buy a property at some stage next year?
Yeah, mate, it's a really interesting question. As we get to the end of the year, everyone's thinking, setting New Year's resolutions, they're setting goals. What am I going to do next year? It's just a common, question that pops into people's heads. So, whether or not it's a good time to purchase, I've always felt that the end of the year is a good time to purchase. It's just vendors are very motivated. Agents aren't as motivated. They just want to clear stock. So they tend to, focus on a particular buyer. Like if you show interest in a particular property, they're probably just going to work with you to get the job done. They don't want to work too hard at this point in time. So if you're ready, obviously, if you've got a pre-approval, that means that you can go this side of Christmas. If you haven't got a pre-approval, it's going to be pretty hard to organize one at the moment, but get your ducks in a row. So start speaking to mortgage brokers, start booking in those calls to line everything up so that you're ready for next year. Because if you start thinking about the purchase this side of Christmas, you're going to be, before you know it's going to be February. So that's 2 months burnt. So if you can start that process and at least go, all right, well, by the end of Jan, I want to have a pre-approval. So 1st of Feb, I'm out looking at property. That's a really good, sort of 8-week play to start getting your head around it. And even if you don't qualify for a pre-approval, at least having the conversation with a broker will allow you to understand where you're at. A lot of people try to jump the gun. They try to go too early in property, and rushing into properties it's not necessary. Yes, there's an element of fear of missing out, but if you're trying to rush the process, it ends up just being a mess. So there are grants out there which help you get ahead, but 5% to save, it can take some time. So if you're not in that position yet, at least chatting to a good mortgage broker will set those goals leading into 2023.
So what you're saying is, even if you're planning to buy and it might be November next year, you might be like 11 months out, it's still probably a good time to chat to a mortgage broker so that you can just establish some sort of a savings plan. You might actually need less than what you anticipate, or potentially you need more. You think that maybe you can get away with a 3 or a 5%, but your circumstances could be different. Everyone's are. So you would still recommend chat with a mortgage broker as like the first port of call?
Yeah. So obviously, understand why you want to buy, and we've got a 12-step process that we go through, but understanding where you're at currently. So how well do you know the real estate market, and just admitting to yourself that, I probably need some help along the journey. That's like checkbox number 1. And then it's understanding why you want to purchase. So why am I actually, going through all of this? Is it because my friends bought and I want to keep up? Is it because I'm sick of paying rent? Is it because I've been kicked out of my rental for, the last two times in a row because the vendor wants to sell it or wants to move back into it? Is it just that fear of missing out and not having a place to call home because you can't go up and paint a wall that you want? You want to put like a cattery on the back or anything like that, and it's just hard to do because it's someone else's property. So there's all of those burning things that lead people to a purchase. So figure out what that is for you, why it's important. So why is the why important? It's because it keeps you on track. So that's just the 2 things to start off with, and then go and talk to a mortgage broker. That's literally the 3 steps that you need to take when you're thinking about purchasing. That honestly is where to start. So understand where you sit, go and have a think about why you're purchasing, and then go and talk to a mortgage broker. Because if you don't, you're walking around aimlessly. And when it all gets too hard, you'll just, revert back to going out or going on a holiday because there's no structure, there's no path. And, I believe in goal setting, not finite sort of, I have to buy a property by the 17th of October. that's not a good sort of scenario. But having a loose discussion with with a mortgage broker to understand essentially how much money's in your bank account, how much money's in your wallet when you're going out and spending. It would be like going to the supermarket, not knowing how much is in your bank account, walking around the shops, filling up the cart, filling up your shopping trolley with all these things, and then you get to the checkout and you've got a $700 shopping cart and you can only afford $500. That's like, you don't want that scenario. So going to the mortgage broker will at least outline how much you've got to spend. And if, as Tristan said before, if you don't have capacity at the moment, they'll at least let you know how much you need to save. So, it might be a 5% deposit because you qualify for this grant. If you're a nurse or an accountant or something like that, you might qualify for lower LMI, so lender's mortgage insurance. There's all of those things, but having the discussion with the mortgage broker is key.